Namaste. Today is the sixth session of Jeevan Vidya Ek Parichaya English translation, reading and explaining session. So over here, Jai Kishan Agarwal Bhaiya will continue from the point where he left us, yes, in the last session. So we were on the page 66 last time. So as we basically have so far covered in the book is about Babaji's journey, how he attained Samadhi, and there he did not find answer to his questions. And thereafter, he basically improvised the method of Sanyam to testify his state of Samadhi. And in that process, the existence, as he says, started revealing itself to him, and which he studied in the state of Sanyam. And as a result of that, he attained the realization in coexistence, right? So, and when he attained this realization in coexistence, which is the part of it basically is the understanding of self or Jivan, right? So Jivan actually is understood in the context of existence, Jivan being a part of existence. So this realization actually happened in coexistence, and Jivan is in understood in the context of coexistence. And with the understanding of coexistence and Jivan, he basically understood that this realization is not something that remains a mystery or is something that stays only in the state when you are actually sitting in some sort of meditation, etc. But it is something that can be brought into behavior, right? So that he basically started seeing that this realization actually comes into the thought, and then it comes into uh, the living as well, right? And with the living, it comes into the living in a way that our senses become restrained, right? Instead of our being driven by the senses or the senses driving us, our senses become restrained in that. And that becomes, that gave him the definition or of humane conduct or manviyata purna acharan, and which became the basis of his describing all the things that concern humans, be it the way the humans should ought to live in all aspects of life. So therefore, all his analysis that he has done in the darshan is actually demarcates what is humane and what is not humane, right? So when I look at the first sentence of Manav Vyavhar Darshan, right? The first sentence of that is मैं नित्य सत्य शुद्ध एवं बुद्ध व्यापक सत्ता में संपृक्त जड़ चैतन्य प्रकृति को अनुभव पूर्वक स्मरण करते हुए मानव व्यवहार दर्शन का विश्लेषण करता हूं. So which means that realization can actually come into analysis and human behavior can actually be understood by that. So it is about basically, and then analysis of human behavior means that demarcating what is humane and what is inhumane, right? So if you look at all the darshan, it is doing the demarcation, okay, of what is humane and what is inhumane, what is justice, what is injustice. So this actually is something which is very remarkable, because so far uh, Indian spiritualism has been under mystery, right? It could not actually be brought into something which we could say into the day-to-day living, which we could actually connect with. So here he's seeing the bridge from what we can perceive through senses and what comes into our realization, right? So that is something which has been a lacune in our Indian or Eastern spiritualism, right? And this is something which he has filled the gap and has presented his whole um, darshan as an alternative for whatever has been presented so far. So in the last session, uh, Jay Bhai actually started describing us about Jeevan in some more details, where he was talking about the kriyas of Jeevan. Like the way we understand a physical activity, we actually understand how it reacts with other activities. Now, how do we understand self? What is the way to understand the Jeevan or the consciousness? So here he is saying that you can understand consciousness also by understanding its activities. Like, since consciousness is not something that will bond with the physico-chemical thing, so you can't actually understand as a relationship with respect to that. You can actually understand consciousness in the form of human behavior. So here he is actually getting down to the detail that what are the things that basically are, what is Jivan composed of, how does, what are the powers that it manifests, right? And how does it actually come into human behavior? So now over to Jay Bhai to actually take us from page number 66. Jay Bhaiya.
Yeah. सभी को नमस्कार. Thank you, Tauji, for giving us a beautiful summary of so far. Can you share the screen, Tauji?
Yes,
Uh,
I will.
yeah,
Can you see this?
yes, Tauji. So I would like to start the conversation from where we ended in the previous one, which was the Jivan and its state and motion. So I just want to repeat some content to get a flow and the background of it. So we have talked that Jivan and its state and motion by the word being and looking. We have concluded that we are just focusing on the looking part of our lives, that how do I look confident, how do I look smart, how do I look happiness. But there is a gap between the being part as well. We are not able to being, and we are not able to live in the harmony with the being and the looking part. And this is what Babaji is saying, that there should be a harmony, there should be a balance between the being and the looking part of our lives. And here in this sequence, the concept of Jivan activities also comes in, where we understand the activities of Jivan, which is selection, taste, deliberation, and imagination, and etc. etc. So before we start understanding these concepts, I just want to put a context behind it, which is usually a question rises that why do we need to understand all of these? Why do I need to understand the state and motion? Why do I need to understand Jivan and its activities and all that, etc. etc. So here there are two logics which I've developed for me, which I can share. The number one, let's take an example of a bike or a vehicle. If I understand the functioning and the niyam behind the vehicle, how it functions, I'm able to fulfill the needs of it and able to live with it properly. Likewise, if I'm able to understand the how I functions, what are my desires, I'm able to fulfill my emotion, my expectation, and my desires as well. So, in order to fulfill my expectation desires, I first have to understand how I function. And to understand how I functions, I have to read and understand the concept of Jivan and its state and motion and the Jivan Kriyas. The second logic, there is a line written in the chapter 16 portion Shoshan of Manaveva Darshan. I would like to read the sentence. It says, सुख एक बौद्धिक स्थिति है, जीवन बल व शक्तियों की संगीतमयता व एक सूत्रता ही सुख है, सर्व मानव समाधान पूर्वक सुखी होता है. So here Babaji is clearly saying that happiness is a state, it's an intellectual state, and it can be achieved by the harmony between the state and the motion of a jivan. So in order to get happiness, I first have to live with the harmony in my state and the motion part. And to live in the harmony, I first have to understand this concept, what is state and what is motion. So I can clearly draw a connection between understanding this concept, which is very crucial for me, because my state of happiness and sadness is dependent on these concepts only. So this was the background before we start understanding the concept. So now we can understand the concept, which is Jivan's activities. So Jivan is a constitutionally complete atom, which we are calling here consciousness. It's basically an atom which is constitutionally complete. If you see, Jivan has four orbits and one nucleus in it. The nucleus we are calling here Atma. The first orbit we are calling Buddhi. The second orbit we are calling Chit. The third orbit we are calling Vritti. And the fourth orbit we are calling Man. Each and every uh, orbit, or a nucleus have a different set of areas or different abilities to function. For example, let's consider our face. It has ears, it has nose, it has eyes, it has lips, and etc. Each and every part of the body has a different function to perform. For example, a tongue used to taste, a ear used to hear, eyes used to see, and nose used to smell. Likewise, in the Jivan as well, the man has a different area of activity or a different ability, and Atma has a different ability. So if you see the man, the ability of the man is to actually taste the happiness or sukh ko chakna. And to taste each and every happiness, Jivan does a particular selection for it. For example, we go to a marriage hall. We see a live counters there, and we see Punjabi, Chinese, Mexican, and Thai food there. I belong to a Indian style cuisine. I like Indian cuisine. So I'll go and have a Punjabi thali there. So this is a process of selection with the expectation of getting some taste. So we can see this is the selection kriya which is having in each and every jivan. And if we talk about the taste, we can experience three forms or three types of taste actually. The number one we are calling the sensory based taste, which is ruchi mulak aswadan. We get a taste by having an ice cream, by watching a movie, by listening to some music or anything which is getting from sensory. So this is the part one. Number two, there's a value based taste, which is mulya mulak aswadan. We get a happiness by meeting an old friend. We get happy by having a good conversation with someone. We feel happy by spending good time with family and friends. So these type of experiences or taste is something different from sensory, which you're calling value based taste. The third is goal based taste, which you're calling lakshya mulak aswadan. For example, we have decided to wake up at 4 a.m. today, and we will able to do that. So the feeling of accomplishment or achievement is something different from the sensory and the value based both. So this is a third type of experience which you're calling goal based taste, which is calling lakshya mulak aswadan. So the clear insight or the key takeaway for understanding these three types is Babaji is saying we have to focus our life and living not just on the sensory based taste, but actually the value based taste and the lakshya based taste, which is goal based taste. So this is a clear insight from the understanding the Aswadan and the Chayan, and this was the Jivan's activity. So yeah, this was I wanted to explain before we start to the further reading. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
So we can start the page number 68 for the further reading.
Okay.
Page number 68. Thereafter, Sakshatkar, conception, and realization of truth happens, which manifests as both and contemplation, based on which we keep examining our living in the sense of purpose. We will have to do this examination since there is no other way. As a result, the path of continuous happiness for human gets paved. Satisfaction of Jivan at its five levels has been called happiness, peace, contamination, contentment, and bliss. The evidence in these five levels in Jivan gets established as the grandeur of self-governance, अर्थात Swaraj in human living. Swaraj in human living. The governance means the grandeur of human upon attaining humanness or orderly living. Self-governance is the self-inspired orderly living, which is elaboration of human conduct. The grand, sorry, the grandeur of human awakening is in realizing their relationship at the level of individual, family, and society, nature, and overall orderliness. We come to trust in the present only in the course of making our relationship meaningful and fulfilling with values. If we don't recognize our relationships, then we don't live in the present and we go to the past, which has no presence. We cannot live with the past. We then think of the future, but the future too has no presence. In this way, humans don't find any anchor in life. As a result, they keep wandering. No one wants to wander aimlessly, but there is no provision of direction and goal in tradition. The evidence tradition will reach result only when every human can achieve understanding from consciousness development value education. The Understanding can manifest in every human's conduct, and humanness can be evaluated. Human goal is to make understanding prevail, which itself is their grandeur, which is their magnificence too. It is with this magnificence that humans can achieve a tradition of continuous happiness. They can achieve balance in the relationship with the animal world, plant world, and material world, making their use and the right use while being grateful for their complementaries, thereby living purposefully. So we can see in this paragraph, Babaji is actually propounding the Adhan Prakriya, which he has went through it and also propounding for us as well. So I just want to put a context or just give a brief introduction. What does Adhan Prakriya actually mean? So if we see in every Jivan, we have 10 Kriyas in us. Sex selection, the taste, deliberation, imagination, etc. etc. If we see the current living, we are only able to experience or evidence the 4.5 Kriyas in us. And the rest of the 5.5 Kriyas are yet to explore and evidence in the living of us. So Adhan Prakriya is a step-by-step guided process in which we are actually unlocking each and every activities in our Jivan and able to experience that and explore them and evidence them. So it's a process we are getting ahead in order to get awakened and in order to experience the truth and in order to get the coexistence of it the most. So it's a process where we are actually unlocking each and every activity of the Jivan. And Baba is also saying that this state can achieve by everyone. Everyone can achieve the state of awakening through education, where he's propounding the term Chetna Vikas Mulya Shiksha, which is consciousness development value education. So this was the explanation of the paragraph. We can move to the further reading. The way of living with humans is relationship, values, evaluation, and mutual full satisfaction. We choose satisfaction over dissatisfaction. Every human, in the anticipation of satisfaction, evidences coexistence through resolution, prosperity, trust in the present, and living in orderliness. The nature of truth was revealed. The nature, the nature of truth was revealed as coexistence, being the ultimate truth. So, in this portion, what I able to interpret it that there is a natural desire in every human being to live happily with another human. And Babaji is saying the only way a person can live happily with another human is by the co-existential way. What does it mean? It means having a upyogita and purakta in each and every sambandh. To elaborate that line, Babaji is saying that each and every relationship has a definite and a fixed amount of duties and responsibilities in it. And once a person able to recognize the duties and able to fulfill them, both the parties can feel the mutual satisfaction and experience a harmony in their relationship. But let's take an example of a mother and a child. If a mother understand her duties, which is nurturing the child mentally and physically both, the child and the mother get experience the satisfaction and experience a harmony in their relationship. So this was the portion. We can move for the further reading. Existence is the only continuous reality, and existence is essentially coexistence. Coexistence is continuously in effect. As a result, there is a emergence of development and awakening. There is a development progression leading to the development, whereby consciousness life emerges. The development is in the form of sentence. The development progression is as continuous activity of physiochemical reality. So here Babaji is actually saying that there is a natural tendency in the nature for the development and the progression. But uh, the question arises why there is a natural tendency in the nature for the development and progression. So to answer that question, if we see the existence, it's a combination of two things, or there are two realities in the existence. One we are calling nature, and another one we are calling omnipotence. We can see the omnipotence reality is a complete reality. It's a Poon sthiti. It's a Poon sthiti. And being nature submerged in the Poon sthiti, it has a natural tendency to get the state of Punta or to get a state of completeness. So we can see there is an innate desire in every nature to achieve the state of completeness because it is submerged in the reality which is already complete in itself. So this was the reason behind there's a progression we can see in the nature. We can move for the further reading. I just want to take a sip of water. How many Jeevan atoms are to be is determined by the way of coexistence. It is not the doing of dilute humans. Existence has manifested the four orders in its own way, which has no human contribution. Humans could not evidence complementaries with the rest of the nature. Instead, they have only been exploiting it. How could humans wish to become happy through exploitation? This is something to think about. All nations, all sects, all religion, and most families think of becoming happy through exploitation. Every state and sect believes that humans can become happy through exploitation only. That is their final word until today. Science too agrees that humans can ensure their survival only through struggle and exploitation. Survival here refers to saving their own people. Struggle means might is right. So, in this paragraph, Babaji is actually targeting the belief system of the current society, which we can see getting happiness through exploitation. But how do we mean actually? Because if I see my living, I don't try to get happiness through exploiting something. So, to answer this question, there is a paragraph written in the Vaharatmak Janvad book, which is written by Babaji, in which he says that if we ask a successful people that how he have made it where today he are, so he replies that only struggle is the way to achieve a good life. And if we ask them how to achieve a luxurious life, they say you have to do a lot of struggle to achieve the good life. So, in conclusion, we have concluded that somehow to achieve a good life, we have to do a lot of struggle. And we can see the same evidence in the science. If we read the Darwin's principle, they also say that there's a struggle in the nature for the survival, and only the fittest species can survive in the nature. But the question comes what happens when we think in this way? If we consider this mentality and we consider this belief system as a true, what will happen in our livings? So we can see we adopt competition over cooperation in our living. We tend to be live competitive over cooperative in our living. And Babaji is saying there is no competition over existence, over nature. There is a cooperation instead of competition. And each and every entity is complementing each another entity. So by this mentality, I am not aligning with the natures or the existential niyams and the fundamentals. And if I don't align with the nature's niyam, I won't get a state of happiness. So when I think that there's a cooperation in the nature, I get aligned my thoughts with the nature, with the existential niyam, and then only I can achieve the state of harmony in my state of mind as well. So this was the paragraph. We can continue the further reading. It is commonly it is commonly believed that development happens only through struggle. The country which can wage more wars, which can do more business, which can exploit more is called the developed country. In reality, only a country which is has become awakened is a developed country, which is in orderliness, resolved, prosperous, has confidence, and understand coexistence. So I used to ask a question that which place would be safer for people to live, or in which place people can feel fearlessness. Number one, a person, all of us are having guns with us. And option B, we are not having guns with us. No one having guns with us. So we can clearly state B, where no one is having guns with us. So Baba is actually redefining the definition of a developed nation. In today's world, we are considering a developed nation on the basis of businesses he do, the exploitation he do, but it's actually saying the amount of awakened people are there in the place or how many people are able to feel the fearlessness in the society is the parameter to judge any developed nation. So this was a paragraph. There is a difference in the way was Jeevan understand Jeevan and the way Jeevan understand existence. As far as physicochemical things are concerned, we recognize then upon exploitation based on usefulness, experimentation based on usefulness. We recognize usefulness in the form of basic and greater needs. The basic needs are food, shelter, and clothing. The greater needs are telecommunication and transportation. Most of these have been discovered and are being produced. These, these have been efforts to make these commonly accessible through commercial means. Commercial methods, however, are always with anticipation of profit. So if you see the existence, there are three types of kriyas in it. There are three types of activities in it. One we are calling physical, the second we are calling chemical, and the third we are calling Jeevan's activities. So science have understood the physical and chemical entities, the chemical kriya very well. And by so we have developed so many products and produced so many things, luxury in our life. But there is a gap of understanding the Jeevan's activity. And he's saying that because of that, we have a tendency of profit in each and every domain we are getting ahead. So this was the explanation. We can move for the further reading. We can ascertain the goods that we need based on the analysis activity of Jeevan. Once the need are ascertained, we do production of those and realize prosperity. We start living in orderliness as soon as we realize prosperity. Therefore, there is a need to first make our students self-reliant and thereafter develop their tendency for evidencing in the family and live in overall orderliness. It is good fortune of humans to evidence at these three levels. The inherent need in human is the one and only basis to actualize this good fortune. When such a need gets firmed up, then it is natural for humans to evidence themselves after diligently studying this proposal. So, in this paragraph, the question arises that Baba is actually raising a question that how should the education system be look like, or how the students should get trained or get educated. So, to answer the question, he's saying that the education system must be like where children are getting trained or getting education to live in orderliness, to how to live in a family and how to live in the society. For example, we can see in our today life, if you see the marriage, if you see the wedding, we have a planning and an imagination how the wedding event should get done effectively. But we don't have a planning or a imagination that how the marriage relation should get lived harmony. So we can see there is no training or teaching that how we should live the good son, how to village. So we have education to be a good doctor, to be a good engineer, but it don't give the education how to be a good son, how to be a good father, and how to be a good husband. So Babaji is saying that the purpose of education is to make the child capable to live in the family and to live in the society wisely. And this is what the Paribhasha says that Shishta Pun Drishti Ka Uday, that a person should know how to be or in orderliness. So this was the paragraph. So far, we have tried to understand what is understanding, who understands, what is the content of understanding, the entity that understands is Jivan, the content of understanding is existence, Jivan, and human conduct only. In the course of understanding existence, we need to understand development in existence. Also, we need to understand physiochemical composition and decomposition. The physiochemical composition and decomposition activities are present in the existence as material order and plant order. All these entities keep transforming from one form to another. For example, trees and plants dry up after a while on their own and take the form of soil. This is called transformativity. It is a continuous process in it is a continuous process in the physiochemical world. In the same way, bodies of animals and humans get formed in the wombs, and when they die after some time, these bodies transform into the soil, air, and water. The entity which understands Jivan remains the same forever. In human, Jivan is the entity that understands. The existence has been understood in the form of coexistence only. It is only with the coexistential outlook that we became capable of living in orderliness in every situation. Living in orderliness is the goal of human. Living in orderliness itself is happiness. Jivan suffers from problems by living in disorder. Consequently, The search for resolution is inevitable. Jeevan has an inherent tendency to continuously search and explore. It is not just in Jeevan, exploration goes on, even in the insane, insentient atoms. This is the cause of transformation in the insentient nature. Everywhere there is a tendency of being in coexistence. It is due to the tendency of being in coexistence that subatomic particles keep constituting in the form of atoms, atoms keep constituting in the form of molecules, and molecules keep constituting in the form of bodies and made of molecules. In this way, humans can understand the being of infinite planets and celestial bodies in existence. The basic form of diversity in sentient nature is distinction in the number of subatomic particles and constituents atoms. On the basis of these distinct atomic types established as definite status in nature, the diversity is found in their composition. For example, the plant, for example, the plant would have has many kinds of composition. The composition which make the entities are naturally there in their respective forms, which is turn have turn have the purpose of participating in coexistence. The substance in these forms are also manifestation of coexistence. On the basis of this, the entire existence is present, evidenced, and revealed. Humans are also part of this existence. So if we see the whole page, the majorly topic which is popping up in my mind is Vikas Kram Vikas and Jagriti Kram Jagriti. So when people ask Babaji that if you have to elaborate your whole darshan in one word, what word it would be? So Babaji said Sahastitva, coexistence. Then people ask if you want to elaborate your whole darshan in one line, what line it would be? So Babaji said Vikastam Vikas, Jagriti Kram Jagriti. So we can see it's a dense topic and it covers a lot of information about the darshan. So I'll try to explain what is Vikastam Vikas, Jagriti Kram Jagriti is. So if we see the existential perspective and consider the existence, we can see there is a crumb and there is a direction in this. The biggest takeaway of Vikas Kram Vikas Jagriti Kram Jagriti is it tells us about the direction of the nature or the destiny of the nature existences. We're going to discuss three questions in it, which is number one, what is it? Number two, why it is, and number three, how it is. So let's come to the first question. What is Vikas Kram Vikas Jagriti Kram Jagriti mean? So if you see the Vikas Kram word, it means evolution. So evolution means development of material order to plant order to animal order to knowledge order in the basis of physical chemical changes. So if you see the evolution in science and Babaji's Vikas Kram lies on the same page more or less. And here is the Vikas Kram. The Vikas Kram Vikas means a constitutionally complete atom or the consciousness or the Jeevan is getting transformed from a from a normal atom. So Vikas Kam Vikas is a time where the Jeevan is actually getting transformed to a normal atom. And once the Jeevan get transformed, it actually start suffering, or I won't say suffering, it start trying to achieve the orderliness in itself and the phase which called Jagriti Kram. And the once the Jeevan achieved that phase, achieved the destination of itself, this is called Jagriti Kram Jagriti. So this is the brief introduction of what does Vikas Kram Vikas, Jagriti Kram Jagriti means. If we see the second question, why it is happening in the existence. So we have earlier talked about that being nature submerged in the omnipotence reality and being omnipotence is a complete state, the nature have a tendency to get and attain the state of completeness. Therefore, they have a tendency for the further development and the further progression, which can be manifested in the form of Vikasam Vikas and Jagriti Kram Jagriti. And if you see the third question, Babaji has beautifully explained that the development and the transformability of the plant and material order, which we can further read, which is the description of how it is happening. So we can move to the further reading. Humans are inseparable in coexistence. Humans cannot escape coexistence. The more they try to escape, the more they got troubled. Every human wants resolution within, and for this they keep searching. Every human has a right to search for orderliness in existence. When a human lives with resolution upon search, the meaning of free will become clear. This search is for finding the purpose of living. The purpose of living gets focused at only one place: happiness. Humans want to live with happiness. This is only one path to happiness. This only one path to happiness, that is achieving Jeevan's and humans' objective. Jeevan's objective is accomplished with understanding. Jeevan becomes satisfied with understanding. And the satisfied Jivan alone is capable of sustaining the evidence of the human objectives of resolution, prosperity, fearlessness, and coexistence. So, if you see the portion to elaborate that, let's assume we have shipped the human being on an island. So, the three questions which arise in his mind were: number one, where I am, what's the world around me? Number two, who I am and what's my purpose? And number three, how to achieve that purpose. And what should I do now? So we can see these are the three fundamental questions of every human being. ये संसार क्या है? What is the world around me? Who I am? What's my purpose? And what should I do now to achieve that purpose? So in this portion, Babaji has clearly mentioned and answered the three fundamental questions of a human being. The first question is answered in the previous page, which is Vikas kam Vikas and Jagriti kam Jagriti. The second question he answered that my purpose is to get happiness and can be only done through understanding. And for that, what should I do now is to attain the human goal. So we can see these are the three fundamental questions of every human being, which has answered in this portion. We can read now. This itself is the evidence of living in orderliness. As one lives in orderliness, these four goals are achieved. Such a human tradition is beneficent for one another. Imparting understanding to another itself is benevolence, whereby the meaning of coexistence gets actualized in the form of tradition. Orderliness in human tradition is to maintain coexistence in the present. Whenever something happens against coexistence, then it disturbs the orderliness. Humans in delusion can cause any kind of disturbance due to their imagination and free will. For example, a lot of damage has been done to the earth. They didn't know what difficulties could arise from this disturbance. And when they came to know, there was no available remedy. Humans keep searching and exploring owing to their imagination and free will. But this search and exploration is meaningful only when it is for orderliness and for achieving resolution, prosperity, fearlessness, and coexistence. So, if we see in the question arises that what will happen when a person will achieve whatever the journey he's going through and the destination he's wanting to achieve. So, we can compare it to idealism that people have concluded that once a person achieves his destination, the journey gets stopped. There's nothing to do anything more. But here Babaji is saying that after achieving the destination, which is experiencing the truth, a person gets more active and perform a more participation in the society, and the society becomes more efficient for that. So Babaji wants to say that person will do upkar then after achieving the state. So here we can see the comparison. In the idealism, people have concluded there is a point of success after achieving. There's no nothing like that. But here Babaji is saying that after achieving the state, a person will participate more, and the correction gets started after achieving that destination. So the person will help others to actually get the state and contribute his participation in their journey to get fulfilled. So this was the explanation. Humans upon understanding have self-confidence. Number two, respect for excellence. Number three, balance in talent and personality. Number four, sociability in behavior. Number five, self-reliance in occupation. These can be called merits. Humans became social with these merits, evidencing understanding in living itself is learning. Only humans could become learned among all that exists, while there is a continuous search in the every unit of nature. The learning is possible only in human. So in this paragraph, he's actually elaborating the qualities which will look like in a person who's getting awakened or get jagrit. Number one, self-confidence. A person will look, a person will able to distinguish between his jivan and the body and able to fulfill the needs of both of them. Number two, uh, number two was, what was the word? Ha, respect for excellence. A person will able to recognize the good qualities in others and able to contribute there. Number three, there's a harmony in the talent and personality. So we can see people are scholar today, but the scholar or the education is not getting aligned with their behavior. But here Babaji is saying that the acharan of the person or the conduct of the person and the intellectual state get aligned, both of them. Number four, sociability in behavior. A person will participate in the bigger order. And number five, self-reliance in occupation. A person will able to fulfill his needs and his family needs as well in the form of prosperity. So these are the five, six qualities which will look like in a person when when it gets achieved the state of Jagriti or the state of awakening. We have described four activities in humans here: knowing, believing, recognizing, and fulfilling. Among these, recognizing and fulfilling are there in every entity of nature. Every entity of nature recognizes another, that is why it fulfills. A subatomic particle too recognizes another, and as a result, they exhibit in orderliness. These cohabit and function with one another, hence manifest coexistence. In the same way, starting from molecules till planets, the entities of nature recognizes one another and fulfill accordingly. Similarly, all units of material order, plant order, and animal order also recognizes one another and fulfill, which is evident in the form of complementaries in nature. Humans could not be satisfied in mere recognizing and fulfilling, and doubts arose in them. Humans have two more activities, knowing and believing. Humans become satisfied from recognizing and fulfilling only on the basis of knowing and believing. Knowing and believing is only of meaningfulness and purpose. Humans Humans can become social only in the course of knowing and believing the purpose. In the absence of knowing and believing, one neither can become social nor can evidence coexistence. The reason for impoverishment of humans is also that despite having the potential for knowing and believing, it could not happen. In this situation, humans remain dispute and make others also dispute. Humans have improvised Earth because of their own impoverishment. In my view, the aspect of knowing and believing should be enhanced. Every human has the possibility to see, has a possibility and need for this enhancement, and its attainment is always within reach. Learning is to evidence the understanding and make it flow in the form of tradition. So, if you see in the paragraph, Babaji is describing the four more activities, which is knowing, believing, recognizing, and fulfilling. You can see recognizing and fulfilling is evidence in plant order and material order, and the believing start in the animal order where Jeevan exists, and the knowing gets start in the knowledge order only, which is the humans. Is also saying that person gets satisfied by the knowing and believing only. And so to understand what is knowing and what is believing, we should start with believing. First, we have to clearly understand that believing is a natural tendency. There's nothing harm to believe something. For example, if I take example of my classes, I've never seen a igloo. They used to taught me igloo exists in the polar region. I've never seen it, but I used to assume that okay, the igloo is existing. Same wise, we first start assuming, then we go to knowing something. So it's natural to assume or believe something. And to distinguish believing from knowing and recognizing and fulfilling, I would like to use example that let's say a food is given by a mother and the same food is given by someone which we don't like. So by eating that food, we won't feel the same. We feel differently because we have assumed something for my mother and I've assumed something for the person I don't like. So we can see this is the only characteristic that start from the animal order in some species such as dogs and cats and in humans only. And if we see that knowing is the process of understanding the niyams of the existence. It's a state where a person is able to understand the niyams, the laws and the fundamentals and able to live with it properly. So there's also a line which says that जानने मानने का तृप्ति बिंदु ही अनुभव है, which is there's an end when the person knows fully and there's nothing to believe anything. This is the point we are saying that a person can achieve the or experience the truth. So this is the knowing, believing, recognizing, and fulfilling. And with all the four get aligned, this is the state where a person can experience the most harmony in his state of mind and its conduct as well. So this was the paragraph. The activities of Jivan could basically be seen in five parts. Each part has two activities in the form of state and motion respectively. For example, every Jivan has the hope, अर्थात आशा, wherein there are two activities, taste, अर्थात आस्वादन, and selection, अर्थात चयन. What we choose according to our taste is the selection activity. We taste, which is also an activity. The part of Jivan where both these activities happen is called Man. For selection activity, humans have imagined what all is needed for taste. They have accumulated a great deal for this and are busy in accumulating even more. So far, we have accumulated for comfort and accumulation. The reason being, more we lack in understanding, अर्थात knowing and believing, the purpose of comfort and accumulation, more helpless we become for these. We could not find the point of satisfaction, of comfort and accumulation anywhere. So the first portion we have already talked about in the Jivan's activities. And if we see the second portion, Baba is actually analyzing or doing the samiksha of Sangra Suvidha, which is accumulation comfort. So how do we feel it logically? So to explain the concept, which is Sangra Suvidha, is not a goal of human. We have to understand that human are a composition of two things, which is Jivan and a body. And both of them are different sets of needs and desires. Let's say a body requires food, shelter, clothes, medicine, etc. Whereas Jivan requires confidence, it requires peace, it requires affection, it requires respect. So both of them have a different set of needs and desires. In short, Jivan needs happiness and body needs comfort. And because we have concluded ourselves as body, we have equated this both statement, which is happiness is only get through comfort, right? And we have also concluded that saman se hi samman milega, which is respect from the material goods. So because I've concluded myself as a body, I'll try to get happiness through comforts and through material goods. But Babaji is saying that there won't be a state of satisfaction by accumulation and material goods because we are trying to fulfill the endless needs of a jivan by a count by an what we say we are trying to get achieve a state of endless by something which is restricted in items in numbers, so there won't be a equation where both of them get fulfilled. So yeah, this was the samiksha. Yeah, yeah. However, when we understand the practical purpose of our material accumulation, we learn that food, shelter, and clothing are for nourishment and protection of body, while telecommunication and transportation are for social participation. All these things have become available, but humans haven't become satisfied based on comfort and accumulation. This is a huge irony. So he's concluding in this paragraph that the The purpose of material goods is for just to fulfill the need of body and for the social participation. There's nothing related it with the Jeevan's need, and we won't be able to fulfill the Jeevan's requirement from the material goods. We can move to further reading. The two other activities of Jeevan are analyzing, अर्थात select, विश्लेषण, and deliberation, अर्थात तुलन. Jeevan performs analysis activity to the extent of its capability. All analysis must lead to recognizing purposes. The fundamental purpose of humans is to evidence resolution, prosperity, fearlessness, and coexistence in living. The opposite path is pursuit of consumption and overconsumption, where humans won't find any stability. So, in this paragraph, Babaji is introducing two more activities of Jivan, which is Tulan and Visleshan, which we are calling deliberation and analysis. So, let's take example: if a person enter in your house, let's say a group of person enters in your house. A person A may say that okay, the house is having good furniture and having a good lighting set of system. The person B can say that okay, there's a good system of ventilation and there's a good system of sunlight, so the person may feel healthy. The third type of person may feel or say that okay, they have built a house in that road and the cost would be 50 to 60 lakhs and this cost so much. And the another person may say, okay, they live five people in the family and they have a good harmony between them. And another person may say, okay, they have a system in the family and having a contribution in the society as well. So these we can say are the different Aadhaar or different parameters in which people are judging something. So that deliberation activity is something in which a Jivan is actually analyzing something and having a six Aadhaar or six parameters for it, which we are calling Priya, Hit, Labh, Nyaya, Dharam, Satya. And we are only able to explore the three Aadhaar of the Jivan, the three parameters of the deliberation activity, which is Priya, uh, which we call liking, and health and profit. And we have yet to discover the Nyaya, justice, Dharma, which is called orderliness, and Sat, which is truth. And when we get aligned with these three deliberation parameters, which is truth, orderliness, and justice, the Priya Hit Labh also get aligned with it. So this was the second paragraph. We can move for the further reading. At present, science concludes that all humans will be dead after some time, and Earth will get destroyed. That is bound to happen if we go on like this. Thinking from the way Earth has evolved, humans emerged only after the planet and became fully enriched and habitable for them. Gradually, the opportunity of awakening become available to human while living in animal consciousness. Instead of becoming awakened, humans move through move towards consumption and overconsumption. It is become it is because humans make consumption and overconsumption in their way of life, they entered into endless pursuit of comfort and accumulation. This earth doesn't have enough resources that could satisfy everyone's last lust for comfort and accumulation. Therefore, sooner or later, this lust will result in the ruin of humans. All objects of comforts and accumulation need to be aligned with the human purpose, that is, towards nourishment, protection of body, and social participation. As we move towards social participation, it leads to participation in undivided society and universal orderliness. As humans live based on these premises, they become capable of living with resolution, prosperity, and happiness, peace in this. In this way, the goal of Jivan is to evidence humans' awakening in existence. Its success is based on the wonderful source that every human wants to live in orderliness. While in delusion, the basis of orderliness is fear and temptation. Upon awakening, orderliness is with recognizing of values, evaluation, and mutual satisfaction. The need is to develop the understanding for it. So we can see this is a concluding paragraph of the whole chapter in which Babaji is saying that we have concluded ourselves as a body and not able to distinguish between the Jivan and the body. And as a result, we are making our goals, the accumulation and the luxury in our lives, which is never going to happen to make us satisfied because there's no goal as per the Babaji saying of accumulation and luxury. We can only experience our whole desires by understanding and by getting awakened. And to understand, there are three knowledges in the reality which we are calling Jeevan Gyan, Ashtadhya Darshan Gyan, and Manvata Punacharan Gyan. So when a person is able to live and understand these three knowledge, a person get understand, and by understanding, a person gets awakened. And this is the only state where a person can experience the contamination, the happiness, the peace, and the bliss, and which is the whole desire of the humankind. And it can be done in the tradition as well. So this was from my side, which I wanted to share. And I would like to thank Rakesh Tauji for giving me this opportunity. And I also thank to whole Manav Tirth and Achoti and my family for supporting me to do this. Thank you, Tauji. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jay. This is very nice. Just to basically share something about Jay. He used to be a small boy when we used to come to Achoti, and he used to actually go to the school. Renu Didi must be knowing when Priyanka and she used to go to Achoti for their 3-year Adhyan, right? So that time he used to be a young boy who was going to Abhibhavak Vidyalaya. And their family actually now lives very close to Achoti, and they're called this Utsav Parisar. And Jay actually had wanted to actually develop his understanding and of darshan. He wanted to go in further depth of it. So he after that shifted to, I mean, has now enrolled himself at Manav Tirth, and I have seen the dedication with which he is performing his study over there, and also, uh, I mean, the hard work that they are actually doing. It's really a tapasya, if you were to ask me, putting all the efforts to actually understand the reality as well as practice it, right? So that is what he is doing, and his family is also supporting him in that. So really, very happy that Jay, you could actually come and do this narration. So I'll now open the floor for any questions for him or any other discussion that we want to have in this group.
Yes, may I share something?
जी
Is
बिल्कुल
there a
रेणु दीदी.
platform for very informal discussion? मतलब बिल्कुल
Yes, indeed,
दिल
it
खोल
is.
types, practical
बिल्कुल
life वाली. Yes.
जी.
Firstly, Jay and Rishta and all of you are so fantastic. It's really heartwarming to be able to see that तुम लोग सच में छोटे छोटे बच्चे थे और
Sure.
now all of you are speaking like it's just coming out as if you just know it, and it's so beautiful. Very very encouraging and inspiring for somebody like me who's been with Vidya for the past 20 plus years, and yet I don't know how to. It's inspiring. Also, I admire the freshness that you young people bring in, because you look at it from a very practical in life kind of a way, and you bring
Mhm.
in, you weave in examples of life without getting too lost in idealistic way of looking, which is what was my training. Somehow I can get stuck there. So it's really nice. Thank you. It's really nice to see both of you, all of you, like that. My question, or rather a curiosity, when you were talking about Poonta and you said space Poorna hai, and uh, you also talked about the nature by being submerged in Poonta is also destined to be Poon. So, when we say omnipotence is Poonata, what does it really mean? I really can't, I'm not able to catch it.
Right. Okay. So thank you, Masiji, for the complimentation, firstly.
Yes.
And I've got your question. Uh, so if we see the ultimate destination of a Jivan, which is the experiencing the truth, where Atma is actually getting Pratyavartan to the Vyapak and actually experiencing the existence as coexistence, which is the Anubhav Sthiti, which is we are calling Kriya Punta in it. So here the Vyapak is said to be Poon, which is complete, which is Gyan Sampanta. So when the person of or I'm don't know I'm able to understand or not, I'm able to explain or not. When the Atma gets Pratyavartan to the Vyapak, he's actually experienced the most of the Gyan he's actually willing to be with. So we can say that Atma is a Poon, and being submerged in that Punta, there's a natural tendency in the particles to achieve that state of Punta. But why Vyapak is Poon? I don't have an answer for that. I feel Rakesh Tauji to answer the question. But why Vyapak is Poon, I don't know. But I've assumed that Vyapak is Poon and it's complete. Yeah.
Or
Maybe I
why,
would.
instead of why, it's like more like how Vyapak is Poon. How is
Yeah.
it considered Poon? Yeah. Yeah.
देखिए, इसमें ऐसे इसको देख सकते हैं कि
हाँ.
वी कैन एक्चुअली लुक एट इट लाइक दिस। कोई भी चीज जो पूर्ण है या कंप्लीट है, उसका एक कैरेक्टरिस्टिक होगा कि उसमें कोई चेंज नहीं होता है ना।
Hmm.
Mm,
इट इज कंप्लीट, आई मीन वट एवर, देर इज नो ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन एवर पॉसिबल, है ना। इट
Hmm.
स्टेट रिमेन्स एज इट इज।
Hmm.
तो ये उसकी एक एब्सोल्यूट स्टेट है। दैट स्टेट रिमेन्स कांस्टेंट। It
Hmm.
is not affected by the activities in it. It
Hmm.
has no, there is no becoming in it. It doesn't
Hmm.
become something else. It is.
Hmm.
It is
Hmm.
a state of being. तो ये एक एब्सोल्यूट स्टेट है जिसके अंदर सभी कुछ है ना। तो स्पेस इज
Hmm.
एन, मतलब ये कुछ भी नहीं है, ये नहीं कह
Hmm.
सकते, ये है। अब इसका नेचर
Hmm.
क्या है, व्हाट इज इट,
Hmm.
व्हाट इज द नेचर। सो व्हेन वी से हाउ इट इज कंप्लीट, तो एक तो ये है कि दिस इज ऑल परवेसिव, है ना।
Hmm.
मतलब इफ देर वर एनी प्लेस वेयर इट वर नॉट देयर, देन यू वुड से दैट देर इज सम इनकम्प्लीटनेस। Had it been over there also, then it would become complete. But if something is all pervasive, that means that it is complete.
Hmm.
दूसरा है कि it is permeating everything. मतलब by movement of things in it, it is not getting affected. It is going through them, है ना। जैसे Einstein actually says that space get curved because of the body being there. जैसे अर्थ है तो फिर उससे स्पेस को अफेक्ट करता है, and there is a
Hmm.
relativity between space and entities also, right? So here he is
Hmm.
saying that space के साथ में कोई relativity है ही नहीं। There is no
Hmm.
relativity of space and entities. Instead, there is
Hmm.
coexistence between space and entities. ये दोनों साथ साथ हैं, इन दोनों के बीच में कभी भी कोई कंपटीशन नहीं है ना। ये दोनों हमेशा साथ साथ बने हुए हैं। तो पहली बात तो ये जो रियलिटी है, ये एक कुछ है और ये रियलाइजेशन में आता है ना। तो एंड एंटिटीज आर एक्चुअली सबमर्ज्ड इन इट, इसमें डूबी भीगी गिरी हैं। दे आर एक्चुअली हैविंग दैट, एंड दिस कंप्लीटनेस is the inspiration in the entities to attain completeness. तो
Hmm.
कोई एक कंप्लीट चीज है, तो उसमें सबमर्ज्ड होने की वजह से चीजों में एक डायरेक्शनैलिटी है, एक पर्पस है। सो दैट इज वन असर्शन दैट इज बीइंग मेड, कि उस कंप्लीट में रियलाइजेशन होने के बाद पता लगा कि इसमें होने से सभी चीजों में उसका उसकी तरफ एक टेंडेंसी बनी हुई है। सो देन यू सी दैट
Hmm.
पर्पस इज नॉट समथिंग दैट इज गिवन, इट इज देयर एज अ inherent thing in the entities. So that is something that is being recognized. उसको धर्म के रूप में पहचाना. This is what has been called as the
Hmm.
basic चीज है जो कि उसकी एक धारणा है ना? सो और एंड देन यू बेसिकली डिस्क्राइब दैट हाउ दिस inherence actually gets manifested in the form of in the forms of things and their attributes, और उनके जो इंट्रिंसिक नेचर है, उनका स्वभाव जो है, वो उस तरीके से हमको मतलब उसका उसको डिस्क्राइब किया। तो तो बेसिकली जो एक लाइन हमको है ना समाधानात्मक भौतिकवाद में मिलता है कि पूर्ण में गर्भित होने से प्रत्येक एक में पूर्णता की तृषा है, राइट? बीइंग,
हम्म
है ना? तो उसमें सबमर्ज होने की वजह से हर एक में एक इनहेरेंट थर्स्ट है टू अचीव कंप्लीटनेस, एंड दैट थर्स्ट एक्चुअली डिस्क्राइब्स द डायरेक्शनैलिटी इन द एग्जिस्टेंस और द पर्पस ऑफ एग्जिस्टेंस। तो ये जो पर्पस है ये हमें आंखों से तो दिखाई देता नहीं है। दिस एक्चुअली कम्स इनटू द रियलाइजेशन। तो दैट इज व्हाट इज, उस अनुभव में क्या आता है, ये डायरेक्शनैलिटी ही अनुभव में आता है कि ये जो डायरेक्शनैलिटी है वो मुझ में भी है और बाकी सभी चीजों के अंदर भी है। एंड दिस इज द कनेक्टिंग थ्रेड बिटवीन अस एंड ऑल एंटिटीज इन द एग्जिस्टेंस। तो वो जो एक यूनिटी की जो बात करते हैं वो हम यहाँ पर देख रहे हैं कि वो सभी चीजों के साथ में हम किस तरीके से जुड़े हैं, हाउ वी आर कनेक्टेड विद एवरीथिंग। दैट कनेक्शन एक्चुअली हैपन्स एट द पॉइंट ऑफ रियलाइजेशन, जिसको हम कहते हैं धर्म की अनुभूति, है ना? सो
हम्म
दैट एक्चुअली कनेक्ट्स
हम्म
जो थिंग्स दैट अपीयर डिसजॉइंट, जैसे नेचर की एंटिटीज जो हैं वो डिसजॉइंट हमको दिखाई देती हैं, बट व्हाट इज द यूनिफाइंग ग्लू बिटवीन ऑल ऑफ देम, वो हमको समझ में आता है कि एक्चुअली वो धर्म है, वो उनके संपृक्त होना है। उस संपृक्त होने में हमको अनुभव जब होता है when we actually have the realization of this submergence, then we find that we are as much as a part of this as everything else, and every we share the common directionality, and there is a relationship between us. So that actually gives us the basis for living in the flow of things. तो ये एक जो बेसिक प्रपोजिशन है बाबा जी का कि सहअस्तित्व में अनुभव होता है और वो अनुभव जो है वो हमारे आचरण में भी मैनिफेस्ट हो सकता है ना? तो
हम्म
दैट्स अ रादर लॉन्ग आंसर फॉर योर सिंपल क्वेश्चन।
नो इट्स ब्यूटीफुल, यस इट क्लैरिफाइज, क्योंकि मैंने भी क्वेश्चन मार्क लगा के रखा था कि जब हम बोलते हैं कि बाय बीइंग सबमर्ज्ड इवन नेचर इज वेल आई डोंट नो व्हाट वर्ड टू यूज, के इंस्पायर्ड, के वो भी पूर्ण हो, तो उस
हम्म
पूर्ण का मतलब वो धर्म से ही है इन
हम्म
इन द इकाई। बट
हम्म
क्योंकि सत्ता पूर्ण है, जैसा आपने भी बताया, दैट बिकम्स एन इंस्पिरेशन टू द इकाई। inspiration maybe is a wrong word, but by virtue of it being that role model is in a चालू भाषा में अगर बोलूं, तो जो उसका it becomes an impetus to for every
हम्म
guy to be
हम्म
पूर्ण complete, ऐसा मैं
या
समझ रही थी इसको।
बिल्कुल ऐसा ही है, एंड द इंस्पिरेशन इज नॉट अ रॉन्ग
हम्म
वर्ड फॉर दैट, that every entity is
हम्म
inspired being in that complete reality, and thereby it has an impulsion, an impetus, right, is also a correct word,
हम्म
जिसको हम मूल चेष्टा कहते हैं, that there is a
हम्म
inherent
हम्म
impulsion in the entities। तो क्रिया करने के
हम्म
लिए उसको मूल ऊर्जा प्राप्त है, there is an impulsion in that, and
हम्म
that impulsion has a certain directionality in it, and that is how basically this directionality is to combine with other entities also, and thereby manifest other
हम्म
forms, and this has resulted into emergence of the four orders of nature, and also in humans thereafter having the directionality। हमको अपने अंदर लगता है ना कि सब कुछ पाने के बाद में भी कुछ कसर रह गई, दैट इज अवर इम्पल्शन,
हम्म
डायरेक्शनैलिटी दैट वी हैव, वो हमारे अंदर श्रम मौजूद है। सो दैट
हम्म
इज एक्चुअली इज समथिंग दैट प्रोपेल्स अस फर्दर फॉर अटेनिंग कंप्लीटनेस। तो ये जो कंप्लीटनेस की ड्राइव है, जिसको हम पहचानते हैं अपने अंदर कि हमारे अंदर कुछ अधूरापन लगता है, हमको सब कुछ करने के बाद भी कुछ अधूरा लगता है वही हमारे श्रम का क्षोभ है ना, जिसको बाबा जी बोलते हैं आपके अंदर जो श्रम का क्षोभ है वो वास्तव में विश्राम की तृषा है. देयर इज सम पॉइंट ऑफ रेस्ट दैट वी आर लुकिंग फॉर, and that point of rest is in the realization of coexistence. There is no point of rest otherwise, because we can't find the vishram in the pursuit of comforts accumulation, in successes, in the temporary successes and various kinds of luxuries that we have actually surrounded ourselves with. तो उसमें सब में वो मिलता नहीं है. सो ही सेज दैट एवरीथिंग हैज अ पर्पस. उन चीजों को भी अलाइन करने की जरूरत है. देयर नीड्स टू बी अ राइटफुल प्लेस फॉर एवरीथिंग, इंक्लूडिंग द कंफर्ट्स एंड एक्यूमुलेशन. उसको भी एक सही जगह मिले, और जो हमारा ज्ञान है उसको भी सही जगह मिले, अपने रिलेशनशिप्स हैं उनको भी सही जगह मिले. सो दैट एक्चुअली इज द प्लेसमेंट दैट इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर अस टू लिव इन हार्मनी, right? So as we were started off in the beginning of today's session, I said that Babaji is saying that realization in coexistence gives the basis for analyzing human behavior, है ना. तो जो भी कुछ हम देख रहे हैं अपनी जिंदगी में, we should be able to classify it between humane और inhumane, कि क्या ये मानवीयता के क्षेत्र में आ रहा है या अमानवीयता के क्षेत्र में आ रहा है. And then we choose that where is my preference, right? So ये एक the ability to analyze it clearly, what is humane and what is inhumane, doesn't gives us a tremendous ability to actually have the power in our thought and actions which will be governed, है ना. हम वेजिटेरियनिज्म फॉर एग्जाम्पल, हम क्यों वेजिटेरियनिज्म सही है, वो उस जगह पर लाकर जब तक नहीं आते हैं कि शाकाहार जो है वो मानवीय है, मांसाहार अमानवीय है, जब तक उस जगह पर नहीं आते हैं तब तक हमारा एनालिसिस ही पूरा नहीं होता है ना.
तो जो ध्रुवीकरण होना है उसके
जी,
प्रमाइसेस काफी क्लियर हो तो ही वहां पर ला करके, नहीं तो हम कुछ भी
हाँ,
आर्ग्यूमेंट दे देते हैं ना अपनी मान्यता के.
राइट. सो
तो
हमारे आर्ग्यूमेंट्स जो है वो बहुत सारे अभी
हम्म
हो जाए. जैसे इसी एग्जांपल में हम है ना जस्टिफाई कर लेंगे कि भाई उसमें भी न्यूट्रिशन है, वो भी विटामिन है, उसमें भी
करेक्ट
मिनरल है,
करेक्ट क्या
उसमें भी वो है. बट
हम्म
हेयर वी आर सेइंग कि जब तक वो वहां पर सेट नहीं होगा कि ये मानवीय है, ये अमानवीय है, दिस इज एथिकल एंड दिस इज अनएथिकल, दिस इज ह्यूमेन, दिस इज इनह्यूमेन, then only you will actually, I mean, reject and a non-vegetarian, just as you would reject cannibalism, right? It is inherently inhumane to actually kill another human and eat their flesh, right? In the same way, you will be able to see that why it is inherently inhumane to actually eat the flesh of an animal. तो वो जो है, जब तक हर आयाम में, फूड इज ओनली वन एस्पेक्ट ऑफ द थिंग्स, इन every aspect of our living, if we can actually get to the point where we can say that this is humane and this is inhumane, ये विधि है, ये निषेध है, ये न्याय है, ये अन्याय है, unless we come to that point, our thought itself does not have the power, we don't have the strength, जिसको हम सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस बोल रहे हैं ना, वो आता ही नहीं है ना. So that is the thing that so I guess I have spoken too much,
नो
maybe
नो
out of
इट्स
turn.
इट क्लैरिफाइज वेरी ब्यूटिफुली. मुझे एक और सवाल, अगेन इट्स अ जिज्ञासा ओनली. तो जैसे 4.5 क्रिया की बात होती है, मैं देखती हूँ अपने आप को कि यस 4.5 क्रिया में सब कुछ चल रहा होता है, but there are times where life situations come where you're able to bring certain premises that we've understood from darshan, and on the basis of which we make a choice. ऐसा भी कर पाते हैं. So that striving वाला part वो कहाँ आता है क्रियाओं में? We are striving, we are making an effort. It's not consistent, but you do rise above प्रिय हित लाभ. ऐसा
Yes.
कभी कर पाते हैं संबंधों में, खासकर आप कर पाते हो कि ना अपने उसको स्नेह की दृष्टि को आप ले आ पाते हो. पहले चाहे इंस्टिंक्ट आपका कुछ और हो, लेकिन आप स्नेह वाली बात और विश्वास वाली बात को मतलब आप लिटरली पकड़ के बीच में रखते हो और फिर आप कुछ सोचते हो. Where would that come?
I
Sorry, my
think
camera is very poor. It keeps going
yeah,
back
no
off.
problem on
Yeah.
that. But
Hmm.
basically, one way of I mean, of re-articulating your question would be that I am
Hmm.
making certain choices based
Hmm.
on what I have heard and thought over with Darshan and have
Hmm.
executed something which seemed to be in the wise things. Where do I give the credit? What credit do I give to myself? Is this something that I am limiting myself to 4.5 activities, or there is something more to it? Okay.
Yeah,
So
you can
that
say that. हाँ हाँ
है ना,
ये भी
तो
है
हम
हाँ.
इसमें अपने आप को क्या, कैन आई गिव माई सेल्फ सम पैट ऑन द बैक, और इज देयर समथिंग which is there which I can recognize that yes, it is something more than the limits of uh, priya hit labh, है ना? It's not just for
Hmm.
sensory pursuit that I have taken those decisions, maybe advising to
Hmm.
my son, maybe advising to my sister, or maybe working towards a better fulfillment in the family, maybe doing seva to my mother-in-law, or any of this could be, right? So,
Hmm.
what I'm basically, my take on this is that wherever we are, we always have the potential to actually do more than what our current thing is. तो उससे ज्यादा करने की हमारे पास में कैपेसिटी रहती ही है. And
Hmm.
we always have the ability to actually surpass our present limits. तो ये तो होता ही है. And it doesn't
Hmm.
have the continuity. That means that it has not yet become anchored in our self.
Hmm.
जिसको हम अनुभव
Hmm.
कहते हैं ना, उस जगह पे वो स्थिर नहीं हुआ है. But still it
Hmm.
has, there is a longingness in ourselves, and which actually wants to leap out of our current limitations. और वो चीज है,
Hmm.
अगर वो नहीं होती तो there wouldn't be any effort towards reaching completeness also. So I think that much we
Hmm.
need to recognize that each one of us has the potential, each one of us has the need, each one of us has the jigyasa, and each one of us makes the effort to actually surpass our limitations. And in some degrees, we achieve that success also. So we achieve the
Hmm.
taste of how it would be to actually have something if it were to have continuity. So if we do not have a
Hmm.
taste of it at all, we would not really make any progress towards wanting for its continuity. तो हम लोगों को चीजों का कुछ ना कुछ एहसास हो ही जाता है, तभी हम उसके लिए
Hmm.
आगे का कुछ प्रयास करते हैं. So that is always, that is very human, that we can actually
Hmm.
see ahead of what we are right now. We get the glimpses of what actually lies ahead. We have the need for understanding, and we actually get the glimpses of that. उसी के बेसिस के ऊपर तो हमारे लिए अंदर एक होप बना है to actually achieve that. Otherwise तो आगे बात बढ़ती ही नहीं. So while in
Hmm.
darshan, at times one actually gets disheartened that you get only classification of Brahm or Jagriti, है ना? And in that sense, one can
Correct.
actually
Yeah.
make some feel कि है ना, मैं तो 4.5 ही क्रिया में हूँ, and I'm actually very less, and there is all that kind of a negative feeling actually it gives. But we need to actually temper it. We need to nuance it. है ना, उस चीज को आपको देखना पड़ेगा. We need to also recognize
Hmm.
the process that one actually has for making um, progress towards the state that we want to achieve, the new normal that we want to achieve in ourselves. तो उसको भी actually recognize करना पड़ेगा. Otherwise we are being too harsh with ourselves. We are not even
Yes, I
forgiving
agree. Yeah.
ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
तो
Yeah. Yeah.
तो वो एक चीज को देखना है.
Yep. Thank you.
Drishta, you want to add something to
Thanks.
this? I can see something on your face.
You are very perceptive. I was wondering if I should. I was just thinking about how, I mean, this is a question that I think all of us as students of Madhya's Darshan deal with about, where are we between 4.5 and before achieving Anubhav? And so, like, how I've understood it is in line with what Rakesh Mama you were already saying, that, there is this space between complete 4.5 and 10, and that space is of the student who is practicing. This is the abhyas wala stage. But again, if I had to be absolutely technical, I was just thinking about the technicality of it. And I would say that even when I'm practicing, it's not like I'm beyond 4.5, because it's like, if you're like stretching out to hold on to a bar, then while you're stretching out, you are still on the ground. It's only when you've held the bar and you're hanging off of it that you're off the ground, really. So that's just an analogy, but how I see it is that so say we're talking about bringing the perspective of justice in our deliberation, but before we have experienced all the values in the sense of through anubhav, we are basically approximating those values. For instance, we have some glimpse of it, so that is what bhas, abhas and pratiti are. We have some vague bhas or whiff of what that value means. Say it's gratitude, and then we have some stronger gist of what that value is all about, or abhas. Then eventually, as we explore it further, we'll have a pratiti, or a direct witnessing of what that value is. And so this is clearly a progression of getting more and more and more clarity on what this real entity, this entity of gratitude is. I mean, this reality of gratitude is. And gratitude is nothing but the meaning behind a certain type of relationship. Gratitude is what we is the purpose of a particular kind of interaction, as all values are. And and even if we look at what gratitude means, it is an understanding or the appreciation of what someone has contributed to my life. So clearly, while we feel it ever since childhood, even a child feels some sense of gratitude, some semblance of it at least. Can we say that it is the same thing as one would experience much later as you appreciate the contributions better, or when you appreciate the other person's role and what those roles are, when you understand those roles better? I think that sense that you're getting as a child also evolves in quality as well as stability. Of course, it is about not just the fact, I feel like it's not just that it comes and goes intermittently, but also that its quality deepens as you understand it better. And therefore, this notion of understanding being so important for mulya, for experiencing values, becomes relevant. Because if all values are understanding the relevance of things, values are like happening, are being felt in correspondence to certain kinds of understanding, really, recognitions. And so that recognition is not possible unless you have an understanding backing it. So even if I want to, with my, with my deliberate effort, when I want to bring in the perspective of justice into a relationship dynamic, a situation, say it is gratitude that I want to bring in, and I try my best. Of course, I will try it as per my capabilities, but my capabilities is determined by my understanding, which is how do I understand gratitude to begin with. Because a lot of people think of gratitude as just, say, at certain times of life we think gratitude is about the show of gratitude, or but later on we come to realize that it is more than that, and so on and so forth. Or affection can be seen as just, like maybe like
It's
physical
seen more as
affection.
an act and not as a state. You're talking about a state of gratitude
Yeah,
or state. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And also not just that, that is one very surfacery level of experiencing it, but also there can be deeper, more nuanced understanding, which is still not complete, as it will naturally be, because our understanding of each value grows progressively and not abruptly. So, in that way, I think this whole process of bringing it to our attention and trying to apply it, that is the whole process of practice in behavior. And when we do that, we realize, oh, this is still falling short. So clearly, I haven't understood this value completely, and I'm not feeling it completely, or therefore I'm not able to live it out completely. So I am trying to live, I am trying to deliberate on the basis of justice, but I am unable to. And in this practice, I increase my receptivity. So that whole concept of capacity and receptivity and capability, it increases this way that when we are engaging in this process of bringing justice to our mind and applying all our capabilities, in doing so, we see the lacuna and raise our receptivity so that now we can understand it some more, because now we'll have more relevant questions, more relevant attention regarding that particular topic. So in that way, I feel like we are still technically, this is all just to say that I feel like we are still technically in 4.5, but we are reaching towards 10. Whereas earlier we were in 4.5 and not even reaching towards 10.
Beautifully said.
I just want to put a context in it, if you allow.
Yeah,
So,
please.
when we read the chapter 17, Rahasya Mukti of Mana Vyavahar Darshan, and in that, Baba just clearly said that to get Sakshatkar or to get the Chit ka Pratyavartan, the first step is to get the Pratyavartan of Man, and the second step is to get the Pratyavartan of Vritti. So, if you see the potential of Sadechar, the Nyayapun Vyavahar and Dhanpun Vichar can done very effectively in the Sadechar only. सो व्यक्ति 4.5 क्रिया में ही न्यायपूर्ण व्यवहार और धर्मपूर्ण विचार में जीने लगेगा एंड ये होने से ही व्यक्ति के अंदर पात्रता बनती है टू गेट फर्दर साक्षात्कार एंड प्रत्यावर्तन उच्छेद. So then when Machiji says that we sometimes live in Nyay, we sometimes live with good Chitran. So it's a possibility in Sadachar only that a person can live fully with Nyayapun Vyavahar, Dhanpun Vichar. And so yeah, this was I wanted to just add. Because we are sometimes living with Nyaya Dishti. It's not continue, and the only effort we have to do is to make it continue nirantar. And yeah, this was the context.
Yeah, this is very nice. Actually, there is a big harm, actually, I would say, in having a total an absolutist view towards things, that all or nothing kind of a view,
Yeah,
right? Which basically uh, does not acknowledge the progression towards it, right? It kind of actually denies oneself. And once you start denying yourself, you will deny that for everyone else also.
yeah,
You will be harsh on others also, right? So it is basically a very important thing to recognize the progression and to see it in our own self also, and see it in the others also. Maybe it will not be technically in the definition of evidence, but it is there, right? It
yeah,
needs to be
yeah,
recognized, right? So हम लोग इस पर है ना अगले वीक बात कर सकते हैं, since the time is over for today's
Sure.
session, है ना. Next week we will have Kevin Baird, who is a very interesting person. He is from Germany and he speaks Hindi better than me, perhaps, right? So so it
Is
is
this the same Kevin who came with Spencer? This Jodi
नहीं
of
नहीं, ये वो दूसरा था.
No, this is
His
somebody
name was
else.
Peter,
Okay.
right? So
Peter, yeah, sorry.
right. So Kevin is he lives in Germany, and he will actually continue from the point where Jay is leaving us, and so so looking forward to seeing all of you and more in the next session. अभी क्या हो गया, आज आज Wednesday है ना? So we'll meet
yeah.
on next on Saturday.
Saturday.
ठीक है. So thank you so much for all of you for joining, है ना? And see you on Saturday.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
Jay. Thanks,
Namaste.
Lushra.
Thank
Yeah,
Thank
you.
you.
bye-bye.
Namaste.